has now been around for 3 seasons, and coaches everywhere are saving time and being more efficient when it comes to scout cards. Coach Robinson from Texas says the thing I most enjoy is the ease of access to all the scout cards and how I can draw on them if I need to make any changes. Every coach that uses it says that it is so great to use. If you and your staff are tired of the old ways of preparing and using scout cards, check out thecoachpad.com to start enjoying Scout Team and making the 2023 season better than ever. Welcome back to another episode of the Gap Down Backer podcast. Today we have the head coach at Beavercreek. I almost said new, but he's not necessarily new anymore. Coach Colvin. Coach, how you doing?
Doing great, Nick. I'm doing all right, Coach. How are you?
Doing good.
Good.
Like I said, you just took over the Beaver Creek program pretty much almost a year ago at the time of this recording, give or take a month.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's kind of backtrack for a second. Is how did you end up as the head coach at Beaver Creek, kind of one of the largest school districts in our state?
Yeah, that's the big question, man. How did that happen? Um, yeah, it was not on the radar. I will always go away saying I LOVE, Chaminade Julienne. That was a great place, one of the best places for me. Will always love and hold that place dear to my heart and my growth as a professional, as a man, in my faith life, just so many things. So, but anyway, I mean, obviously they were looking. Brad Pompous gave me a call one day and just said, "You want to talk about it?" And I'm like, I don't think I do. No, I don't think. I just don't see that. And I give my wife credit because she's like, "Well, why would you just say?" I was like, "Well, okay, maybe we'll give this thing a try." And so we talked um, and talked more and then talked more and then talked more. And a lot of people will say, like, you left CJ to go to Beaver Creek football. I mean, CJ, we're doing well, and um, Beaver Creek wasn't winning. And it's more than that. Like professionally, the way that they've taken care of me, and allowing me to do some things administratively, but still coach football. I really felt that that's where my career was tracking off the field. I was getting a chance to do that at CJ a little bit, but the way that they packaged that with my time to be able to do that in coach football, you know, made it very enticing for me. A lot of support from the family, and obviously, you take the challenge of a winless football team, and not knowing what to expect, and it was a big effort. I mean, 1 year in is a big effort. It was hard. It was difficult. Had a lot of fun. So I've coached, many years, and I will say it's one of the funnest years I've had coaching football. And it's not that you celebrate losing. I just really enjoyed learning these kids. I know what probably people say away from the community about them, and maybe even in the community about the football program and these kids who play, and all these things. And I can look into their eyes and try to call them winners, and we're going to try to do that because they're really good kids. They want to learn, they want to commit, they want to work, and I'm here for that, man. And and taking on the challenge and seeing what we can do here in this off season and year two. But yeah, it was a big change for me, and I'm proud and happy that Brad Pompous called me because it really did become a really cool event for my career at this point.
Okay, and kind of talk about that for a second. You were at CJ what, like 20 years or something along those
Gosh,
lines,
is
or
it 19 or 20? I actually student taught there too as well. So I don't always add that year. So definitely 20, at least 20 years, maybe 21.
so
Yeah.
what was that? I mean, let's talk about CJ for a second. What was it kind of like? I mean, building's a strong word. CJ's had success on and off
Yeah,
for, uh,
absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
but like, what was it like being and building it to your vision for that 20 years? I mean, you started as a student teacher, you were a position coach there, you were D coordinator, you were the head coach for was like 10 years.
Yeah.
Um, what was that process like for you before you came to Beaver Creek?
Probably why it was such a difficult decision. It was that it was seamless, it was easy, it made sense. My wife has a really big time job. I'm in Catholic education, man. So like, there's an art of service, and not expecting your bank account to grow immensely, you know. So you know, I know who's taking care of our home, and I admittedly tell people that, man. Like, you know, so I knew I wasn't going to be out of Dayton, Ohio. I was going to be here, and I thought the getting into CJ as a student teacher, becoming a teacher, position coach, it was like, this is the best place for me. It made sense. And so just staying there and I guess doing my job along the way, they continued to trust and give me additional responsibilities, up to becoming the director of student services. I was really proud of that. I was a teacher for 15 years and, entered administration just before COVID. Shout out to Greg Muller and Steve Fuchs, my guys over there, man. That my first year at admin is 2019, right into COVID. I'm an interim assistant principal, and just getting to go through that with them. I'm super proud of that time that we had, and the work we did to get school back open and get kids to school, and whether masks and COVID, all that stuff. But yeah, it was seamless. It was easy. It made sense. Which has made it a tough decision to leave CJ. I think a lot of people are still kind of surprised by it, that I'm not there. But it was 20 great years. And again, like I said earlier, like I really grew in so many ways: coach, professional, a man of faith. All those things that place did for me. But a lot of good coaches on the way. Coach Jim Place. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
First year as a coach, Jim Place is the guy. And I remember first game, we're playing Northmont at Welcome, 10,000 people, ringer in the backfield. And we went on a last second play. And before that game, they're talking about Coach Place's pregame speeches. And, man, I played high school football for Coach Beck. I played college football for Coach Kelly. But I've been fired for a game before, and I'm in that locker room as a coach, ready to run through the lockers with the kids, man. Like, that guy will take you from here to there, the way he motivates. So getting him, and then, Andy Helms, who replaced him and gave me a great opportunity to be a defense coordinator, and, trusted me, and really grew close with him and his family. His wife is one of my kids' godmothers, and and then getting the chance after him to be the head football coach, 30 years old, raw, don't know what I'm doing. Had really good players, coach, really good players, and that really helped along the way at CJ. You find really good coaches. You talked about Mo, Corey Harden, Timmy Zabo, Brandon Payne, Jeremy Valentine, and go on and on. I could go with just so many great coaches that I had, to help make what we did, possible. So yeah, I don't know, man. Just it was the right place for me, for 20 years.
Now, kind of with that, how much of the stuff culturally did you bring over to Beavercreek, and then how much did you have to add or change things? Like, I know you and Mo both do the summer competition, the houses, in the off season. How much of your stuff did you bring with you, the stuff you like to do culturally, and how much did you add or change as you went to Beavercreek?
A great question, Coach, because the whole intent was to come and flood and just do everything right away. I learned pretty quickly we were just a little behind, a lot behind on many things. And in terms of what we wanted to do from a football standpoint, we really had to spend a lot of time just like weight room and football teach knowledge. Our quarterback, Spencer Johnson, great kid, spectacular kid. He's a safety in college coaches. You gotta get this kid. He'll go to Witt, he'll go to Wilmington. He's D3, he great kid. But his fourth offense in 4 years, right? So so we're trying to run a little bit of read stuff and obviously power and read off of that. He ended up leading our team in carries this year, which kind of fits him. So, but there are a lot of things we were trying to get done that our kids just weren't familiar with, in terms of routes and those types of things. So we didn't get to do as much culture building stuff as we wanted to do in year one. The house system, we tried to bring that over. I didn't do a great job with that. Again, we had to put some things on pause to become a better football team. But we did our team camp at Witt in the summer. The one thing that kids will tell you that they play for Coach Colvin, they're going to get a lanyard every year with the link. They're going to get a wristband with the quote or mantra or saying. And at team camp, we're going to talk about that. The idea of the link is that you're linked together. I asked the kids to wear that link at all times. I still have my link that I got in 1999 from the University of Dayton. That's how much it means to me. Just having that link on my lanyard, or on my keychain, and being able to feel that, it just reminded me all the time of, it's bigger than me. There's guys that relying on me. I'm trying to do the right thing, make the right decision. And so we try to implore that into our kids. Summer camp's big on that. Is our kids being linked together, and then whatever our mantra is for the year. Last year it was build the dam. I think I want to continue that, to be honest, because we still got some building to do. Those are things we've had at CJ. CJ kids are going to have all those things, hopefully, to this day. Your senior year, you get your double links, and I ask those kids to hold on to those. And it's always great, Coach, when you see a coach, you see a kid you coached 10 years ago come back and say, Coach, I got my links. Right? Like, you know what? Because, Coach, I still got my link, man. And I individually cut those things every year. My wife watched me do it. She's like, you never delegate that to a coach. I said, it means a lot to me to cut the link, and put those links on the lanyard, give those to the kids. And I tell those kids that, that's how important it is for me. Coach Colvin spends about 2 to 3 days during the week getting ready for camp, cutting links, going to Lowe's and getting links, So I'd say, but those are those things. And then the kids will always say, culturally, what does Coach Colvin believe? You don't quit, you don't complain, you don't make excuses. Like, and I think I've kind of summarized it. Coach Mo might tell you to putting it on a plate. Things aren't going to go well. Put it on a plate and eat it, and let's go. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Right? I mean, we're going to quit now. What we're crying about, whose fault? It doesn't matter. We got to move on, So, don't quit, don't complain, don't make excuses. Trust your link, trust your brother, and do what we say we're going to do. Try and build the dam. And you need guys like the senior class last year. I told them, like, you're not going to get the immediate effects of what you're putting into this program right now, but you're going to see it some years down the way. Brent Couch, who came back to play football since his freshman year, and Logan Spaeth, came back, great lacrosse player, already got a scholarship, decided to come back, play football, play corner to line up against Anthony Brown and Jackson McGowan. So, like, those guys did a lot, even though we didn't win as much, Coach. Those kids did a lot for us to, believing in some of the things I think we talked about, trusting your teammates, trying to build for what we're trying to do. Don't complain, don't cry, don't make excuses, go play football. I'm hoping those things that we can just continue going into, while still adding some things we didn't get to do in year one.
I get it. But you kind of mentioned you had to put some stuff on hold. So as going forward, what are you going to, is there any new implementations or stuff that you didn't get to that you're going to try to hit this year? Like you said, you kind of had to put some of the house stuff on hold and didn't explain it the way you kind of wanted to. Going forward, like, what adjustments are you going to make?
Yeah, I don't know if it's adjustments right now, man. The focus is weight room. So, got a chance to work with our former strength and conditioning coach over at CJ, Melanie Red. And I told her when I was leaving, like, probably won't get to you right away, but I want to talk to you going into our full year of strength and conditioning, just to make sure that we're doing, I would love to have her over at Beavercreek working with all the sports, because I think she's that great. CJ's lucky to have her, and I'm proud of her, but just, we've been working with her over break. We did a coaching clinic with her over break, just to get ourselves ready to teach and coach up, getting our kids bigger, faster, stronger. That's what I'm most excited about. So that's not a tweak. It's just something that we have to do. It's something we've always done. Mo will tell you that. Corey will tell you that. Like, we weren't birthed with like behemoth athletes at CJ. There were a couple, but we had to really build some guards that could pull across the center and some nose guards that could split a double. I mean, you had to build those kids, and it's no different, to where we're at now. Even if we were blessed with those kids, we still have to, because, Springfield is so good and Centerville is so tough, and you can have a good foot. I think Wayne lost 4 games in the GWAC, 3 games in the GWAC, and I thought they were talented all over the place, So, so I don't know if there's anything else on my mind, to be honest with you, than getting back on January 3rd and start getting our off-season program going, getting the kids there, getting tested, get their numbers, and start working, building the percentages and getting in the hallways and running, and and try to get to the point next season where you look back on this time and say we spent our time right. We got our kids committed, believing, and it's going to help us do something special, man. I believe that. I haven't won a GWAT game in how many years? I don't know. Goal next. We got to do that, coach. We got to do that next year, and so we're going to start trying to do that January 3rd.
Now, kind of, you've mentioned your background as a defensive guy, and you guys kind of got the reputation while you were at CJ being more of a 3-3, cover 3, cover 1 team. Would you say that's your identity as a defensive coach? Like I said, I know during your height, you guys kind of got a reputation of running power, RPOs, and then your 3-3 defense. Would you say that's your defensive identity, or what would you say that yours is?
That's it. So I love the stack. Corey Harden was a great coach who convinced me, that was the best plan for our team at that time. I played at University of Dayton. We are too high, too read. Core's team, took that with me to CJ right away, and really, we had. So at that time at CJ, we had 2 safeties, Donovan Lane and Marco Gresham both went to play college football, Indiana State and Notre Dame College. 2 of my favorite players that ever and they were like ball hawking safety type kids. So we stayed in, I really enjoyed the 2 high type defense where you could have safeties down. Michigan State, I'm not saying that's what we did, but like Michigan State, Pitt, line them up at 9, nosy, right? Downhill, get your read. We were really good with those guys. I think of Marco, and guys will make fun of me for talking about Marco, but he might be my all-time favorite kid. Like that kid, we actually had my first year, we made it to the regional final, lost to Clinton Maskey, tough loss. But we were running a defense called Gap, Marco, Black. And we were just set in the front, 2 eyes, 2 5s, 2 inside backers, playing man free, except the free safety. Whenever we called Marco Black, he was just nosy blitz, and he could pick whatever gap he wanted, coach. And we shut teams out. It wasn't schematics. Dude was nice. He was a good player. And so we let him be free and roam, and then we called Black, and he'd find a B gap to blitz, take away from a backer. So, but 2 high coming out of college was what I wanted. I always thought you needed two safeties. Both it allowed for a coverage adjustment, those types of things. And then I always viewed, you could use your safeties in the run game if you read it right. One guy fill, one guy CRC or counter reverse cutback, stays flat, and maybe gets back into deep third if it's play action. It's always like that. And then Corey Harden comes along, and we're running the 3-4 at the time, still 2 high, and introduces the stack, and it was complicated for me. I don't know, that's why I say I'm not the smartest guy, man. Like it's got to make sense to me, but really enjoyed how you could, I think, in the stack be multiple, but keep the box set. I think that's probably the number one thing that intrigued me about it. You had 6 guys in the box. You were gap sound. I guess when tight ends came in the game, you had some adjustments you had to make, but depending on your personnel, the stack is great, especially if you have a lot of, those mid-level high school linebackers, those altar kids, those 5'11", 190s. They got a whole team of them. Kids that you need to get on the field that might not be able to have their hand in the dirt. You might find a place, in the middle of the defense for them.
Now with that, so when you went to Beavercreek, how much, because like I said, your reputation at CJ was the stack and RPO power, essentially. How much of that stuff did you want to bring with you and brought with you? And how much of it, okay, I hired these people, this is what they're good with, this is what our kids are. How much of that, like, what became your identity there?
So yeah, I'm big on trusting guys that I like and letting them do what they want to do. So, like talking about Corey Freed, he's our offensive coordinator. He was a really good football coach at Dunbar, was their head coach, went over to Centerville with Brent, was doing a really good job over there. He and I met and talked. I didn't even know he lived in Beavercreek. His son goes to Beavercreek City Schools. He loves to run power. Like I was like, thank you, Lord. Lord works in mysterious ways at times. And I think we talked for about 45 minutes and a beer over at B-Dubs. And now he's my guy. I'm working with him on the football field, and he's in the building. working in the program that I'm supervising. So I get to work with Corey a lot, and you know, what he's doing offensively is exactly what I'd want to do. You know, especially with what we have. You know, people are like, what, you know, there's your spread at Beavercreek. Well, we ran the ball a lot in a conference that was tough to run the ball against. So we committed ourselves, you know, to run the ball and running power and then being good off of that play. So that's going to stay. We're going to keep doing that. And then defensively, you know, as I said right before Corey came, we evolved to a 3-4. I thought we were really good at that at CJ, and then went to the stack. And, you know, again, I give Corey Harden a lot of credit for that. And so Caleb was more comfortable with a 3-4. And, you know, I thought it was his time professionally for him to have the opportunity to call it up. You know, he hadn't had that yet in his career. And I think he's going to be a heck of a head football coach one day. And so, yeah, I was on board, man. Like we talked about 3-4, the 2 read, and that's coach. That's why I came out of college. So yeah, I was comfortable with it. You know, what I did learn is, you know, we're going to be a little bit more, I don't know. We can't just sit. I found ourselves sitting a lot. You know, defensively, we got to be a little bit more attacking, a little bit more in the box. You know, I say tempo coverage, like we got to be able to, so we might have to play a little bit more one high safety next year to do some things that I think we need to do. And right now, without a defensive coordinator, I think I might be that guy. So I've actually been working. I brought my trusty notebook just in case we were going to draw thing, because I've been, you know, I've been in the notebook just trying to look at what I think. Just play. Think you play Xenia week 1. Mo's going to run power, and he's going to try to get your linebackers nosy and throw it over their head, and, you know, and hit the backside post off an RPO. Like, he's going to do his thing. So, you know, how do we match up with that in space, but also be able to tackle in the box? And then you play the G-Walk outside of Fairmont. You know, you got an H-back in your face, kind of same idea, same thing. So we have to be a little bit better attacking, or have some answers, I guess, in the midst of the games that we didn't have defensively, I think, next year. And that's not a knock on Caleb. That's just our kids weren't ready to do some things that we needed to do, you know, defensively, you know. So we'll see. I don't know. Like right now, we run power and we play the 3-4 this past year. I think we're going to run power. We're going to do something defensively. I don't know if it's going to be exactly a 3-4 again.
I get it, Coach.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that, I mean, you have some open spots right now. How do you go through the hiring process? Because, like, you did that. I mean, you didn't have to do a lot of that at CJ. I mean, your staff was pretty stable, especially towards the last couple of years, until both Hardens left you for head coaching jobs. And then you obviously got Beavercreek job, hired a new staff, and then you have some openings this year. How do you go through the hiring process and looking for assistants?
Yeah. So if I don't have to, I don't need to announce, you know, hey, Beavercreek's looking for coaches, come. You know, I've had not a ton of success with that. You know, it's about relationships, man. Like, it's about who you know, and convincing guys to come be with you. So I really like to reach out to guys that are available, who I know want to grind. You know, just, I know what we expect the workload to be. You know, I've learned for some coaches that's not what they wanted it to be. And it's good to know guys who grind. It's good to know guys who've been through you know, been through a good system or such. But I think it's about relationships and knowing people, and knowing someone who knows somebody. Like, I think about Corey Freed. You know, he coached at Dunbar. We scrimmaged against each other when I was at CJ. Never really talked to Corey Freed before, but my best friend coaches at Centerville. All right. And so it's like, I was like, how's Corey? Reach out to him, you know, and now he's at Beavercreek. But I know he's spoken for, he's a great coach. You know, but I think whenever you're hiring, you need to make sure that you get a good chance to try to know the candidate as good as possible. You know, yes, they can be smart, they can know all the things, you know, but are they going to be someone that, you know, you can sit in a room Sunday through Saturday, you know, with 10 other guys that maybe you've been developing or working with, or understand your expectation? Can they be in that room together? Are they too smart? Right. So I got an OC, I got Momo, who's doing a great job. I got a guy who wants to come in and do it all, who can't be humble maybe in an interview. But gosh, he's smart. He can help you. But is he going to come in and mess up a dynamic? So I think those things all you got to take into consideration. But the more people like it's one thing I love, coach, is like the brotherhood of coaching. I just respect it so much. Just guys doing what you're doing, and out in two-a-days and missing family. Like there's something to be said about that, man. So I just respect it and then trust those guys that have coached, can recommend guys that they're going to give you the best guys that they can.
Now you mentioned that staff dynamic there, and I think that an interesting thing I saw, and I don't know if you want to talk about it, is I saw that you took your whole staff out to dinner along with their wives. I think it was a couple weeks ago. I saw you post that on Facebook. Do you want to kind of talk about the mythology kind of behind like why you do that?
Yeah, man. Football family. So it's just another way of explaining to our football community that we are a family. And so, I send weekly emails to our football family. That's our parents, whoever's taking care of Jimmy and Johnny. They get an email from Coach Colvin during the season every Sunday, just to kind of explain the week and expectations for the week and who we're playing and how we got to do and how we did last week. And but I always address it football family. We try to do an event in the summer that brings our football family together, whether it's a pizza party at a 7-on-7, whether it's the draft, the house draft, picnic in the summer, whatever it's going to be, something we can bring everyone together. But it's just a way of saying, like, mom and dad, grandma, grandpa, uncle, aunt, brother, they're part of this as well. So when they drop their kid off at 7:30 a.m. in the summer, 3 days a week, when they drop them off for 2 days and give them a packed lunch and pick them up on time at 4 p.m., like they're part of helping us get to the next level. And so, but the night out with our wives is just another way of saying thank you to the spouses. They're the ones, and I've learned that a long time ago, and I'm fortunate, that my wife figured that out a long time ago, that in the fall it's just over. The fall, and then the first weekend of February, those are the weekend. That weekend she's not going to see me, and then during the fall. But they sacrifice a lot. I'm not the only one with kids. On the team, Corey's running around trying to see his kid play football. His wife's everywhere. She's traveling, working. So it's just a way to say thank you. And I'm thankful to our Beavercreek Football Club they sponsor that, so they've come to support the vision I have for us to just be, collectively together, from the coaches to the spouses, to the parents, to all the ones raising the kids. And if we want to be good, if we want to come to a game and, not consistently see a 2-8 football team, and we want to celebrate a winning football team, it's because we've all done what we needed to do. So all about the family, man.
And then I've also been told that you go around your lunchroom quite frequently trying to recruit kids. Like I said, I know people at Beavercreek. Like how accurate that and kind of, I mean, do you want kind of, I think some coaches don't necessarily do a great job at recruiting kids. So, you took over a school where, there's a plethora of kids that don't play football. Do you want to kind of talk about your mythology about trying to get some of those kids out that don't necessarily play?
Yeah, man. I'm always in the lunchroom. Twofold. I have time to do it. I make time to do it. I think takes a little stress off of our admin team. It's another adult in the lunchroom. It's like, I'm just joking, coach. I'm in there to go see the kids, man, and absolutely, if I see a kid that I've not met, I'm going to say hi to him and see what he's doing. And if he's not doing anything, I encourage him to talk to me about football. So, I think you have to do that at a Beavercreek for sure. There are a lot of kids. And before I got there, I'm understanding there were a lot of kids who had played, who kind of walked away, and we were able to get a few kids back in our short time. The hope is that, we grow that even more, going forward. So I think that's an absolute must, which is another importance of the head coach being in the building, like to not only see his kids, but there might be another kid walking around with big calf muscles that, might be able to run and catch a football. So, and that's actually benefited me at CJ, finding kids like that coming out. I think CJ Riazzi playing football 1 year, his senior year, talented basketball kid. He goes to Air Force Academy to play football. He's now an officer out in San Diego now because he played football in Cotton. You got to find those kids. So, but yeah, that's a very accurate story. Whoever told you that, the Coach Colvin's in the lunchroom rubbing elbows. Absolutely. That is definitely true. Yes.
And then my last question for you is, you take this either way. You can either talk trash to him or tell me a Mo Harden story.
A Mo Harden story. A Mo Harden
obviously
story.
Keep PG.
Absolutely. I don't know any rated R stories of Mo, so. A Mo Harden story. I can't talk trash to him. His football team's too good, and he's doing too good of a job. I will say I topped Mo when he was a freshman in high school. So when I look at Mo today, that man has grown up tenfold. Mo would have been one of those kids as a freshman, and not that I have this list, but as a teacher, you have a list of kids that, like, if they were 18, you'd like to take them out in the, like they need a little lesson taught to them, a little too confident, a little too forward. He might have been on that list as a freshman. But I'm proud of Mo just because of where he started. He really matured. He really grew up, really overcame a lot. And that dude worked so hard coaching football. So, I can't talk trash about him. I don't know if I have a good PG story about him, but only thing I say about Mo is, like, I'm not surprised in year 2 that he did what he did, because he was always questioning himself, as you said. Am I good enough? Can I do this? Can I lead? If you don't go, these boys love you. This community's gonna fall in love with you. He's done nothing but, like, grown that thing overnight. And I think he's got one of the best jobs in Southwest Ohio, man. Like, Xenia is I think a gold mine for the ability to win. Get in the playoffs and win, Division II, and obviously play some good teams, but you don't have to go see Moeller or anybody at some point, So no, shout out to Momo, man. That's my guy.
Perfect, Coach. Well, Coach's Coach's Twitter will be in the bio. Give him a follow. You check out Beavercreek coming up this year. Other than that, check out our sponsor, Coachpad. And that is in our episode of the Gap Down Backer podcast.